All right, good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing? Very big turnout today. I know it's the last day. Everyone is tired, exhausted. Try to keep this fun and entertaining for everyone. So, just to introduce myself, I'm Jean-Pierre Mooney. I'm the managing director for the Middle East for Handy. I don't know how many of you have heard of Handy before. Just a show of hands. Just a few? Okay, I'll tell you more about Handy in the end. Before I start, just introduce myself. As I mentioned, I'm Jean-Pierre Mooney. I'm the managing director for the Middle East for Handy. I'll tell you more about the company in the end, but just some background about myself. Actually, before I start, how many of you come from the travel and hospitality space? Almost everyone? Who here works for a hotel specifically? Okay, few. Great. So I'll try to keep this relevant for everyone. Myself, actually, I don't come from the hospitality background, but I do come from a technology background and strategy background. So before joining Tink Labs recently, a few months ago, I used to work for Uber, and I led Uber's expansion a couple different countries in Africa and Asia, in Europe. And so I got a sense of technology and tell you more about how that links up to hospitality and travel in a bit. For the past 12 or so years of my career, although I don't come from hospitality or travel, I've spent most of the time either on an airplane or in a hotel room. So although I'm not a hospitality professional, I'm a professional guest and a professional traveler in that sense. So today I'm going to talk to you about technology in general and how that impacts the travel space and the modern day traveler as we know them. And then in the end, I'll tell you a bit about our company, Handy. So I want to start off with just an image of how we imagine travel today as a modern traveler. So this is usually the postcard or what you see from the travel agencies, right? Very rosy picture of what your vacation should look like, a beach, a very short trip, pictures with your family, something very easy, right? So buzzwords that come to mind are, relaxation, just things should easily come together. However, in reality, this is what we usually go through as a traveler. And these are some of the pain points that we usually, see. Who here travels a couple times a year, or at least a couple times a month? I think most people in this space spend a lot of time on an airplane or in a hotel. So the reality of travel is actually, it's a bit of a burden for many people these days. So you fly somewhere, you get to an airport. See if I get this to work here. You visit the nearby stand in the airport and you're trying to figure out how to leave the airport and get to your hotel or to your destination, right? So you're trying to figure out either public transportation, taxi without getting ripped off, or whatever means of transportation. Then you get to your destination and you're looking for the nearby hotspot. If you're lucky enough, your company's paying for your roaming fees, or you have a local SIM card that you bought from the airport. Otherwise, you look like this lost and confused person here searching for the nearby Wi-Fi spot. Then you get to your destination and you have your recommendations, right? You go to your top attractions that you're visiting in a city. Most likely you're going to waste a lot of time waiting in a line that looks like this. So how many of you have spent time waiting in lines to get to different tourist attractions in whatever cities you're visiting? Yeah, it's infuriating the time that you waste waiting in these lines, whether it's with your family, friends, kids, whoever. Then depending on where you're traveling, if you're traveling to China, good luck. Few people speak English. I lived in China for a couple months last year, and it was almost impossible to get around if you didn't speak Chinese. So you have the image here of a lost and confused traveler who's trying to talk to locals but faced with a language barrier. And then once you do find your recommendation on what to do, most of the times you end up in a tourist trap like this where you're paying an arm and a leg to get a view of the Eiffel Tower and have a meal that's mediocre. Who can relate to this here? Some people. Hopefully not too many. So today I just want to talk about how the evolution of technology can help facilitate the travel experience for the modern day traveler. So most of us probably come from a generation where we know what this is. The pager, right? None of us here, I think, are young enough to actually have skipped this generation. But I remember growing up and being excited about a pager and being able to have something that buzzes on my belt whenever someone tries to get a hold of me. However, a lot of us these days probably have something that looks like this, a smartphone or an iPhone or an Android. believe it or not, iPhone is only 10 years old. So if you think of it, most of our lifetimes we're used to devices that were not smartphones. And then more recently, in the past 2 years or so, you see the rise of smartwatches, or in this case, the Apple Watch. So the fact is that there's a new mobile reality, and it's changing the way we interact with people, with work, with our daily tasks. Just some facts here. 80% of internet users actually have a smartphone. In countries like East Africa, you're talking about Kenya, Tanzania, there's this leap of the PC and people go immediately to the mobile phone. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with East Africa, but the rise of mobile payments, they're pioneers there, right? So people have really leaped the PC space and have started doing payments and messaging directly with their mobile. A lot of us are probably guilty of this. So majority of us, the first thing we do when we wake up is touch our smartphone. Probably also the last thing we do before we go to sleep. So as we know now, mobile technology has become a channel for which companies can really leverage the latest trends in technology. Companies are taking note. So more than 50% of company budgets now are dedicated to mobile advertising. That's proven to be one of the most effective ways because you can reach a consumer wherever they are on the go. In fact, not only is it effective, but its conversion from mobile commerce is actually much higher than e-commerce on a laptop, right? Someone is on Instagram, they see something, you now have the option to click a few more buttons and actually purchase the item directly from there. Or Instagram, sorry. So with this, we've seen technology become an identity for a lot of people who spend a lot of time on planes or in hotels. What technology has allowed us to do is break cultural barriers, make the world a flatter place, create these virtual identities where people exist or are able to mingle with people from different countries, different nationalities, and have these social platforms where you can share ideas and recommendations so that your peer who's going to a city you've been to can have the most local experience possible. The great thing about technology is that there's been a lot of shift in the expectations of what consumers have. But the interesting part is that a lot of these shifts have come from forces outside the travel industry. So if we take a few examples here, you look at Amazon Prime, for example, which you'll probably soon have in the UAE now with the entrance of Amazon to the region. You know, I remember 2 years ago, you'd order something and people were excited about Amazon delivering it within 2 days. Now you can get it within a few hours in some cities. Starbucks, with their Starbucks app, you can order a coffee while you're getting ready in the morning and make sure it's ready for you to pick up and bypass the lines of people and not waste any time when you're going to work. On-demand apps like Uber or Deliveroo for food delivery made it very easy for us to get whatever we want at the tap of a button wherever we are in the city. Or dating apps that made it possible to meet people at the swiping left or right. So all these apps with the rise of technology have really affected the way we expect different services and products and the way we see things. Whether you're a traveler, a student, professional, whatever it may be, these expectations actually affect us across our daily lives. So I really want to talk about how these expectations relate to top trends that are happening in the market now. And there's a lot of data out there and a lot of publications about top six technology trends in the hotel industry, top 10 travel trends. When you look at all of them, I really want to summarize it and think of what are the ones that are really most relevant and ones that are top of mind for frequent travelers. So the first one is ability to have a seamless travel experience, one without friction. And I'll go into detail in a bit about each one of these. Second is the ability to travel and being able to have a real, authentic local experience and not feel like just another number, another tourist. Then this has become a buzzword lately, big data, right? With technology, you've seen the rise of data, the ability to collect more data points and make more meaningful decisions. But how do we leverage this to take it to the next level and have empathy and being able to use it to really improve things like customer service. And then last but not least, there's been a big boom of technology in the past, decade or so. But how do we look at technology as an enabler rather than a substitute? And how do we really blend the physical and digital space together? Okay, start off with the first one. So again, seamless travel, looking at how to remove friction in the whole journey of the traveler. So I want to try to keep this brief so you guys remember some key points. So the first one being connectivity. Without connection, wherever we go now, you practically feel naked, right? You can't message your friends, you can't talk to your family, you can't access your favorite application, you can't check your email. It's become a must or an expectation. So connectivity on the go, again, has become an expected form of traveling, expected reality for a lot of travelers. But again, the reality is that a lot of people are not lucky enough to have this. You have to deal with high roaming fees, or you have to go around looking like the lost person I showed you on the first slide, seeking for the nearby Wi-Fi spot. With the expectations we talked about earlier, again, part of seamless travel is being able to get what you want at the click of a button. This generation of instant gratification, right, as a result of different apps and on-demand platforms that we've seen, wanting to get everything at the click of a button or a swipe. So in fact, from a recent study, 44% of travelers expect to be able to plan a trip within a few clicks, whether on an app or a website. Most likely on an app these days. When we talk about experiential travel, a lot of people now, when you travel, like how you want to come back with experience, with memories, things you want to potentially write about, right? So think of experiential travel as bringing back experiences and memories instead of souvenirs that fill up space and potentially become junk, right? So when you're looking at authentic experiences, the key is how do you travel? How do you feel like a local when you're traveling? This is when we've seen the rise in the popularity of the sharing economy over the past couple of years. So again, if you look at the hospitality space, you look at Airbnb, the reason why a lot of people prefer Airbnb is not for the lack of hotel rooms in a given city, but for the need or the want to feel like a local and to see what it's like to actually live in a home in New York or in Paris or in Dubai, right? So it's wanting that real local experience of what it's like to actually to live in that city. The second part is bringing back memories instead of souvenirs. People are really hungry for memories. They want to stand out. Memories are a way for them to really create unique experiences. It gives them the ability to share with their friends and family. And that's how you create loyalty in a very natural and organic way. Talked about big data before. Again, it's been a big buzzword for the past couple of years now, but few people really know what it means. And few companies really know how to leverage this. A lot of companies collect a lot of data in the back end, but the reality is, or the power in it comes in how you leverage that data to make powerful and insightful decisions. With mobile technology these days, every single click on an app, when you're navigating an app, website, whatever it is a data point that's collected by the company in the back end. And these are data points that are analyzed automatically now when you're looking at machine learning, and they're analyzed to pick up some trends, bring back insightful information to the company that allows them to take, powerful decisions and customize an experience for a given traveler or guest. The first element of this, the humanized aspect of big data, is looking at it and really focusing on the empathy and the personalized service of it. So travelers really want to be treated as individuals. If you look at the two biggest outbound travelers these days, the Chinese and Indian population, there a lot of markets have big tour groups that come from these two countries. And the profile of the tourist that comes from these markets is really evolving. When I lived in China, you see the rise of the Chinese middle class that are no longer seeking mass market tourist attractions. They're seeking more cultural experiences, right? So the destinations are changing, their itineraries are changing, and their preferences and expectations are also changing of what they expect from their hotels, from the experience, the flight, the airline they take. So the ability to be really treated like an individual, no matter where you're coming from, even if it's from a mass market or a different place. And last but not least, as I mentioned earlier, with the rise of technology, we shouldn't forget that technology should not be treated as a substitute, but rather as an enabler for improving the guest experience or the traveler's experience. So tech for us intercepts all aspects of life, right? Think of how we can use it to simplify life instead of pushing it away or running away from it. One example, how many of you have heard of Amazon Dash? Probably will be in this market soon, but basically it's a button that you get and you can place it on your washing machine. Whenever you're low on detergent, you simply press the button, it connects to your Amazon account and automatically puts in an order for detergent for you that will be at your doorstep within a few hours. Amazon Dash is the name here. It's a device that you put on different appliances in your home, say a washing machine, for example. When you're running low on detergent, you simply press the device, and on the back end, it puts an order for detergent for you, and that's at your doorstep in a few hours. So it connects to your Amazon account in the back end. One actually that I heard about this morning at a talk at the investment conference is smart bathtubs. I actually didn't know that these existed. How many of you have heard of this? So it's a bathtub that measures the quality of the water. It actually measures your cleanliness when you immerse in the bathtub, and it automatically orders chemicals to actually keep it filtered and clean whenever it feels that the water is not clean enough, right? So this is an example of how technology is penetrating all aspects of life, not just handheld devices. The last part here is really, as I alluded to earlier, retaining the human element of technology and not using it as a replacement, as a substitute. Especially when it comes to customer service, right? I think we can all attest that no robot will ever replace a human when it comes to really keeping a customer or a guest satisfied. In fact, actually from a recent study from Booking.com, 42% of travelers would not choose an accommodation that lacked that human element or friendly and helpful staff. So hoteliers are actually taking note. These are common trends in the market. And then the big buzzword you hear now is technology. It's a very, very generic word. People want to be part of it. People want to embrace it. But the question is how. So this year, 54% of hotels are saying that they want to spend more on technology. And the two biggest buckets here are guest room technology, whether it's a tablet or automated controls, or mobile engagements, most likely apps. A lot of us travel a lot here. How many hotel loyalty apps do you guys have on your phone? Who has at least one on their phone? Who has at least two? 3? So the thing is, they're very interesting. They're cool. Some are better than others. But if you're traveling, you want a different experience wherever you're going. Sometimes you prefer to stay in a boutique hotel. Sometimes you prefer to stay in a house, in an Airbnb style accommodation. Sometimes you prefer to stay in a big resort style hotel. The fact is, we have an abundance of apps on our phone. We don't have enough space on our phones to continue downloading apps, and yet we're still looking to download a different loyalty app from every given hotel. It's just not realistic these days. So again, a lot of hotels are spending in technology. The question is, how do we really leverage technology to really bring the guest or the traveler what they really need? In doing this, hotels face two big dilemmas. Everything comes at a cost, of course. And these are costs that are passed on to the guests normally, unless they're shared with the hotel. So the balance here is, how do you keep the guest happy? How do you keep the guest satisfied? And bring on additional services as well that are going to come at additional cost for the hotel. The second point, we talked about improving the experience, having the hotel really help the guest experience the city in a very local and authentic way. The challenge for the hotel here is, how do you keep the guest happy and engaged when it comes to giving them that local experience without moving them away or cannibalizing your own facilities, whether it's your restaurants, your spas, right? On average, guests spend an average of 3 hours a day in a hotel. So the question is, how do you leverage these 3 hours, and how do you make sure you get the most out of these 3 hours, and how do you actually bring the guests back for more than 3 hours if you can? And if you're helping a guest improve their experience in the city, get a more local experience, how do you do it in a way where the guest recognizes you for it, right? So a few different examples here just to get us thinking on a different level. Again, it's about how we leverage technology to do it in a way that meets our objective as hoteliers, and at the same time improve the satisfaction of guests. So one, if we see technology as a way for us to commercialize our services and our facilities, if you're looking to do some geo promotions or promotions based on where the guest is in the city and be able to push a specific promotion for an event or a venue in that city and be able to get them to attend that. Driving guest loyalty is a big one. Again, we take it for granted, but loyalty is gained. And we do this by creating personal and memorable experiences that guests can take with them when they go back home. How do we leverage technology to really improve brand awareness of our hotel and also get the guests to be our own brand ambassadors when they leave the hotel property through social media and other channels? In fact, on average, 80% of travelers today look at between 6 and 8 reviews before they make a booking at a hotel or even a restaurant, for example. That's it for me today. I wanted to give you a quick introduction on our company, and I'd encourage you to pass by our stand just down near the Travel Tech Theater. So again, how many of you have heard of Handy here? A few. I'll give you a quick overview. So we're a mobile technology company focused on creating a bespoke solution for the hospitality industry. We're based out of Hong Kong. We've been there for the past 5 years now. In the past few years, we've been able to penetrate 80% of hotels in Hong Kong, and the same in Singapore and Macau. So what we do is we create a mobile technology solution that we place in every single hotel room in a hotel partner, and it gives them the ability to engage with their guests not only in the hotel property, but wherever the guest is in the city. So it's a device they can take with them anywhere across the city, keeps them connected with free local international calls, free unlimited internet, which we do in partnership with local telcos, and it gives the hotel a chance to really keep the guest engaged and push promotions for their facilities, services, restaurants, spas, whatever they may be. We work with hotels across different brands, from the smallest boutique hotels to the largest brands that you see on here, across different properties. So as I mentioned, we're primarily focused on Southeast Asia, but over the past year, we start to expand to Europe. So currently in London, we're in over 30,000 rooms. We start to expand to Paris, Rome, Milan, Barcelona. And just 2 days ago, we announced a partnership with Do to enter the market in Dubai and to start bringing the service to different hotels across the market here. Just a few examples that you can do with a device like Handy. Gives a chance for the hotel to really promote their brand and to put their name behind improving the guest experience, not only within the hotel property, but also outside the hotel property and anywhere in the city. Gives the guests a chance to really rate the hotel on Tripadvisor through our special partnership with them, and a chance to order hotel services from wherever they are in the city. Let's take a guest who's going back to their hotel in Dubai in the afternoon. They're really tired. They want to make sure their burger is in their room by the time they arrive. They can order in-room dining through the app and make sure that it's there by the time they get to their room. Handy is essentially an extension of the hotel sales and marketing team. So it gives them a chance to really improve their digital marketing footprint and to measure how effective it is. So through a feature we have, push messaging, you're able to simply select the type of guests you want to push this message to. So through the device, you know which guests speak Arabic, for example, the age demographic, where they're coming from, and you're able to push messages directly to specific groups. Say you only want to push it to guests on the first floor, you can also do that. But you can do it for different occasions. It can be personal for a birthday if you want to make the guests feel special. It can be for exclusive offers for hotel, restaurants, spas, or different facilities. And again, this gives you a chance to promote your services for the guests anywhere they are in the city. And again, give them the chance for the guests to really feel like a local by giving them really localized, curated recommendations on the best restaurants to visit, the best attractions to go to, what to do when they're in a given city, so they don't have to carry their outdated Lonely Planet guide recommendations that was, printed about a year ago. Last but not least, it gives a chance for the guests to stay connected with the hotel anywhere in the city. At the click of a button, there's a speed dial option to any hotel service, whether it's a front desk, concierge, in-room dining, whatever it may be, and we do this in coordination with the hotel. The cool thing about it actually is you can use it for room-to-room calling from anywhere in the city. Assume you have friends, family, other contacts in the hotel. You simply dial their room number on the device, then you can reach them anywhere in the city and simply use it as a walkie-talkie. From the hotel side, we give them the ability to really get insight on their guests through, leveraging data and collecting anonymous aggregated data from hotel guests based on their usage of the device and the demographic of guests. This gives the hotels a chance to really understand behavior of guests, not only within the hotel property, but also anywhere they are in the city. So the next time they have guests going to their hotel, they're able to tailor their services accordingly. This is what it looks like. This is the new smart dock that we're releasing next month. Gives a chance for the hotel to actually use it as a replacement for the PBX. And this is the handy device that the guests can take with them anywhere in the city. That's it. Thank you very much. Any questions? I'm happy to take them here. Sure. There's the microphone.
You will refer that we can improve the ranking on the Tripadvisor with your platform. How?
How do we improve the rating on Tripadvisor?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's crazy. So through the integration with Tripadvisor, I mean, if we look at the reality now, a lot of guests rate hotels, only rate their stay once they leave the hotel property. At that point, it's too late to recover any negative experience, right? Best thing we can do is reply to their review on Tripadvisor or whatever social media platform they have. For us, what we do is we set a threshold with the hotel. So anything below a certain star, so say 3 stars or below, the hotel should be notified about the review. And what we do is we push the guests to provide a review before they leave the hotel property through their handy device. So they'll receive a push notification to rate the hotel, review the hotel a day before checkout. So that review is published. Before it's published, actually, the GM or whoever you designate in the hotel is notified of the review, so they're able to recover that experience before the guest leaves their property. So it gives you a chance to actually engage with the guest, recover any negative experience before they leave the property.
You have linkage with Tripadvisor only or any other booking engines also?
So right now it's only Tripadvisor. In the future it will be with other platforms as well.
Why only partnering with the hotels? Why not tour operators and other people?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we actually didn't start with hotels. When Handy started a couple years ago in Hong Kong, it was a stand or a booth that you'd find in the Hong Kong airport when you arrive. And you'd be able to rent the device like you would with a Wi-Fi hotspot or a local SIM card. What we realized is to really scale and to get to the reach that we want to reach, which is 1 million rooms by the end of this year, you had to work with partners that had footprint across the world, right? So we didn't limit it to one stand in the airport. We started working with hotels where every traveler would stay. So now with hotels, maybe in the future it will be with the likes of Airbnb or similar properties, but it's a way for us to really to scale up and reach every guest in the fastest way possible. Any other questions? Yeah.
You mentioned something that hotels increase their RevPAR with 3 point something percent, and they increase their 20% of the revenue by upselling the services which they have in the hotel.
Right.
Now, how the hotels calculate their ROI?
Yeah. So with these 2 points specifically, so the ROI is always an interesting question, right? So for us, our vision is to have Handy be the expected amenity for guests in the room. So go back a couple years, Wi-Fi, some hotels charge for it, others provide it for free. Nowadays, it's almost expected that it's there for free from a guest perspective, right? So our vision for Handy is to have it like Wi-Fi, it becomes an expectation as an amenity from the guest. If you look in mature cities for us like Hong Kong or Singapore, where we are in 80% of hotels, guests actually look for hotels that have Handy, right? So a guest is likely to choose one hotel over another that gives them this amenity and ability to stay connected while they're traveling and staying in that hotel. In terms of promoting hotel services, with the push notification feature, it gives a chance for hotels to really uplift their revenue in their facilities, whether it's restaurants, spas, or whatever other services they have, to the guest, not only when they're in the hotel property, but also communicate with them when they're traveling in the city. So as I mentioned earlier, the average guest spends 3 hours a day in a hotel. Outside these 3 hours, nowadays, the only way a hotel can reach them is through email or, if they want to spam them through SMS. With our device, you're able to push notifications with a device that gives them value with connection and recommendations wherever they are in the city, and able to promote whatever specials you may have in your, or unique specials for guests only through the push notification feature. Yeah, so whoever wants to see a demo, actually, please visit our stand, which is just a few booths down here. We're happy to give you a demo and walk you through the whole device. Any other questions? You've used it in Singapore. Yeah. It's handy like the name, right? So most likely, if you've traveled to Hong Kong, Singapore, and Macau, you would have stayed in a hotel that has a Handy device there. Whether you use it or not, it was probably there. Sure. One question in the back.
Hold on. My name is Vincent from Simple Solution 360. I want to ask, because you're here today, you most likely want to target the GCC region. And how do you see the opportunity and the major challenge you see maybe in the next 2 years in the GCC region, in the light of the technology, kind of like they are really restricted and also kind of like heavily regulated, and also they are kind of like a different language for Hong Kong. I'm from Hong Kong myself, so you can see they English speaking or kind of like Mandarin or Chinese speaking. And here is all Arabic. How do you see the challenge and the opportunities? Thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, there definitely are a lot of challenges in this market, but every challenge comes with an opportunity, right? So for us, the GCC is a very, very interesting market. It's probably one of the few regions in the world now that's almost doubling its hotel room count or number of keys, right? Especially if you look at the UAE market or Qatar or even Saudi, right? The number of hotels they're building and the size of a hotel is just not comparable to anywhere else in the world. So from that perspective, the size of the opportunity is very interesting. Also, given the chance for, if you look at the direction that these economies are growing, they're diversifying away from oil and into services, right? So tourism essentially becomes a very important part of that. And so what happens there is, if you look at, let's take Dubai, for example, you have Smart Dubai office that was established last year. One of their big initiatives here is smart tourism, and how to really improve the traveler's experience when they're in Dubai. What that means is making sure that, treating the traveler as they would be a guest in a hotel, right? Making sure that all pain points in their journey in Dubai are frictionless in essence, right? So how do you make sure they're connected at all times, whether through a device or a Wi-Fi hotspot or whatever it may be? So again, we see a lot of opportunities in this market to really fill gaps like this. And, especially if you look at this market, is probably one of the highest telco costs in the world, right? And our partnership with Du allows us to really work around this and reduce the cost from a guest perspective and make sure that they're able to enjoy connectivity when they're staying in Dubai and not be able to pay a leg and an arm for it. Why did we start in Asia? So our founder is from Hong Kong. That's been the home base for the company there. And Hong Kong is also a very big hotel market, right? So we were able to really prove the concept in a controlled market like Hong Kong, and then start to expand slowly to nearby markets like Singapore, Macau, and then more recently last year with the investment from Foxconn, we started to expand to Europe, and now we're planning to expand to over 100 cities between now and end of the year. I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions, if there are any. Yep. So which cities in the region or the Middle East will we be in by the end of the year? So our focus is the GCC to start. We're looking at three main, well, the short answer is every city. But three main cities to start make the most sense for us would be Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Doha. But if you look at different markets also, you look at Saudi, I mean, the market there is very different, right? But if you look at the number of rooms and hotel counts in a city like Mecca, for example, it becomes very interesting, but you'd have to pivot the product to make it, for it to make sense for the local market. So instead of the local travel guide recommendations, maybe focusing it more on Hajj or pilgrimage and tying a religious component to it, right? Because it is a big tourism market, but it's a market focused on religious tourism. So how do you make this relevant for the types of tourists that come to Mecca? Yeah. Any questions? So before you leave, make sure you take, we have some handy goodies here for you. No, we're out? We're out. Okay, feel free to stop by our booth just in 1278. And we're happy to go through a demo for you and get you information to reach out for any more info you'd like. Thank you for your time.